Now we'll move to item under conduct business, item B, please.
Item 6B, adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to vote on behalf of the city in the storm drainage and flood protection fee property owner mail ballot election.
And I'm going to pause because I do see a hand up, but I don't know if it was for the third quarter budget or if it's for this topic. So maybe we can check really quick. Because I didn't see the hand prior to the announcement of this topic, but can we just double check?
Sure. Paul Wapinski?
Yes, for this topic.
Okay. Well, okay. We'll get the report and then we'll come and call up upon you. Thank you. City manager.
Sure. I will share the screen for a brief presentation. Sorry, so many presentations. Okay. All right. We have a brief 4-slide presentation. And so as our very last item on the agenda, I will not be long. As the City Council knows, on April 6th, you adopted a resolution submitting a storm drainage and flood protection fee to all property owners in the city in a Prop 218 mail-in ballot election. With that process, all property owners within the city will be assessed the proposed fee and have been mailed a ballot. That includes the city. It also includes all private parties, all public agencies, any school district property, county property, any property owned by nonprofits or religious organizations. And so every property owner, whether you are a natural person or a corporation or a public entity, votes in a property-based election. This is distinctly different than a county election that we are more familiar with when only natural persons can vote. And so the item before you is to essentially provide direction to the city manager on voting on city properties by the required June 15th deadline. As the staff report notes, this is not an uncommon occurrence. The city of Burlingame, who had their stormwater fee in 2019, voted on their 95 parcels. And so the city of San Bruno owns 103 parcels for various facilities, things like our civic center, our courtyards, our recreation facilities, fire stations, parking lots, parks, open space, our footpaths, our city net operations, utility infrastructure, whether that's a water tank, a pump station, a well station, or a city net head-in. And many of these properties are in residential neighborhoods. For example, the facility that we have at 590 Maple, the water pump station and well. And so the proposed fee that would apply to all property owners as well as the city is 0.049889 cent per square foot of impervious surface area. And the estimated cost of our fair share from the city is $134,000 from various funds. And so the action that is before you tonight is to adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to vote on behalf of the city on the storm drainage and flood protection fee, property owner mail-in ballot election. Direction is requested. There are really two options, a yes vote or an affirmative supporting the enactment of the storm drain and flood protection fee on city-owned parcels, again, reflecting the city's fair share for the parcels it owns, or a no vote or negative, which is not supporting enactment on city-owned parcels. And with that, that concludes the presentation. Happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Okay, we did have a member of the public that was waiting, so I'd like to go to our public in case they'd like to have their comments and then if they needed to depart. So anybody from the public, this would be the opportunity in which to raise your hand and make your comments known. And we will, City Clerk, if you can bring in, I see we have two speakers.
It's Paul Lipinski.
Hi, I've got a comment and two questions. My comment is I don't think the city manager should vote on behalf of the city unless the council tells him how to vote. He's not an elected official. I think you guys should tell him how to vote by a council vote. My two questions are, does the city get one vote, or do they get 103 votes, one for each of the properties it owns? And my other question, I forgot to ask this the last time that this came up, but if you're a non-citizen property owner, do you get to vote? Those are what I have. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments and questions. Next speaker, please.
Next speaker is Aros Harmon.
It's me, and actually Plymouth is here as well and would like to speak in a moment. My understanding is that these rates haven't been adjusted up for almost 20 years. I mean, since the 90s. And I know raising property owner fees is never a popular thing in our politics. So I want to thank the city council for taking responsibility here. Like, this is a really important issue with climate change. Like, we all know storms are going to become more intense over time. We get drought years and then flood years. So I already submitted my ballot in favor, and I really appreciate the unanimity of the council in moving this issue forwards.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker.
So this is Plymouth. Can I just speak directly after Aros, if that's okay?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. Hi, so this is Plymouth Ansberg speaking. I live with Aros in the Bel Air neighborhood, which was relatively recently, since we moved here 4 years ago, assessed for flood risk, and we were found to be a flood risk. My personal property is like 1 block outside of that, but the neighborhood as a whole is substantially in a flooded area. So I think it's really important for us to maintain our stormwater infrastructure to make sure that those floods are less severe if and when they happen. There was a case just a few years ago where I know a neighborhood in San Jose that was like not expected to flood had this major flood when one of their drainage systems failed, basically. So I think it's really important to maintain our infrastructure, and so I would encourage the council to vote in favor of putting our votes towards raising these fees. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I don't see any other speakers, so we'll bring it to the council. There were some questions that were raised by the first speaker. One I'll take, just so you hear from me and the council, is the reason this item is on the agenda is for the council to hear from the community, to have its comments and deliberation, and then to direct the city manager on how to vote. So this will come from the city council that will direct the manager how to vote. It does not give him or her or the city manager, Brogan, the option on how to vote. It will be direct for this item. City manager, there was 2 other questions that were raised.
Yes. Absolutely. So direction is requested. There was a question about only natural persons are only natural persons allowed to vote? The answer is no. Corporations, school districts, public entities, religious institutions. It is the property owner of record and the representative and the authorized representative for that property owner. So whether it's an LLC, a corporation, et cetera. And it is true that the current stormwater fee has not been increased in nearly 30 years. I believe the number is 27 years was the last time it was increased.
And I think the final question was, out of the 103, is that 1 vote for each? Which the answer would be yes, and that would be then 103 votes.
Yes, every property owner received a ballot for each parcel, and so it's 1 vote for each parcel.
Thank you. All right, Councilmember Hamilton.
So no questions, but just a couple of comments. First, I want to thank staff for putting this under conduct of business and not under consent, because it's important that everything related to this stormwater action be deliberated on as openly as possible. So I'm glad that we're discussing it. It's really important to note that this process that we're following, including the city being able to vote to vote on its own parcels. This is all part of the state mandated process for how to handle these types of increases. There were questions that came up earlier in the process regarding that votes are public record and all those types of things. And I just want to make sure that the public understands that we're not making up this process as we go. That this is the state mandated process for doing this, which includes the city being able to vote just as anyone else on each parcel. And any individual, if one individual owned 10 parcels within San Bruno, that individual would get 10 votes in this process. It's the same. It's all the same. So, and I just also wanted to reiterate, because I don't think enough emphasis was put on this fact that that while nobody is in favor of nobody is ecstatic about having to raise this fee. Right now we're all paying a 1994 rate for our stormwater. And what else in your life are you able to pay the same price that you were paying in 1994 for that service? It's just not fiscally sustainable, which is why we had to take this action. So I just wanted to make those comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member. Any other questions or comments from colleagues?
Mr. Mayor?
Vice Mayor.
Yes. This would be for our city attorneys to make it absolutely clear. Everything that we're doing is in compliance with the law. That's the first question.
Well, certainly everything relating to this item is in compliance with the law. I think that's what you are asking.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for that.
So yes, the answer is yes. That's correct. We wouldn't have brought it forward to you if it hadn't been.
Right. So just to make that absolutely clear, and this is really part of the importance. No more questions for you, City Attorney. Here's my comment. The importance of this council bringing this item to the public for the public to decide. That as we're all having some financial uncertainty during these times, the risk that we will put ourselves in as we proceed going forward, if this doesn't pass, we're already seeing it. We don't have enough money coming in from the revenues to take care of the system that we need to protect our community. The rate of inflation from 1994 to today is 80%. A dollar in cost in 1994 is $1.80. The cost of our stormwater has remained the same. The revenue that we're getting is the same. So I am in support of this. We must be responsible, and I encourage everybody to vote for it.
Any other questions or comments from colleagues? Okay. Not seeing any other hands up, then we've heard from the public. I won't repeat because of the hour. I'll just concur and echo with Mr. Hamilton and Vice Mayor Medina. With that said, it is a resolution. Is there any action by council?
I'll make a motion. I'd like to adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to vote yes on behalf of the city in the storm drainage and flood protection fee property owner mail ballot election.
Second.
I think the Vice Mayor jumped in on that one. Okay, so Hamilton, Medina, roll call, please.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Aye.
Councilmember Mason?
Aye.
Councilmember Salazar?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Marty Medina?
Aye.
Mayor Rico Medina?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, staff, for your presentations and the items on consent and the conduct.